Hey everyone, Nick Chamberlain here, and I just wanted to let you know that we are coming out with new episodes very soon. So stay tuned, and you're going to love what we have to offer inside the offer. Hello and welcome to Inside the Offer, a podcast that is dedicated to connecting and bringing life to those who are on a mission to provide for their family by building their own successful business. We believe that the key to standing out in the crowded world of entrepreneurship is having a unique offer that sets your business apart. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent looking to create a side hustle, a recent college graduate with an entrepreneurial spirit, or a seasoned business owner, this podcast is for you. We'll sit down with individuals who have navigated the unique challenges of self-employment to share their stories and insights. We'll uncover the paths that have led them to where they are today and the strategies they use to build and grow their businesses. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher so together we can inspire each other to reach our goals and create a fulfilling future for our families. Let's go! Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I am your host, Nick Chamberlain. I'm so grateful for your time and for allowing me to share with you the purpose, the mission, and the future vision of this podcast. And then a little later, we're going to get into a bit about who I am and why I started this podcast in the first place. But first off, inside the offer's purpose, I want to build a community for those who are starting their own business or who already have their own business up and running. So if you're looking for support in community with like-minded individuals, especially those of you who are providing for your family or trying to provide for your family by running your own business, this show is for you. Or if you are beginning to explore the idea of leaving your full-time job, this show will give you insight into what it actually looks like to live the self-employed lifestyle. Let me tell you, it's a bit scary, it's hard, it's exciting, but most importantly, it's life-giving and fulfilling. Also, if you're already a successful business owner and you just want to gain additional insight and tips from other industries, or perhaps you're looking for someone to work with or help you in a specific area in this business, then this podcast is also for you. The gig economy is growing each year, and there are more and more people leaving or trying to leave their regular 9-to-5 job to start their own ventures and take control of their lives by designing a business that fits their dreams rather than you fulfilling someone else's dream. I know there are hundreds of communities and programs around building your business and following a specific game plan to make your business work in your specific industry, but I am not the guru in this podcast. I'm not going to be telling you what to do or how you should do it. Instead, I am going to be bringing on individuals who are making it happen in the real world, those who have found success in their business. Whether they went through a specific coaching program or just figured it out themselves, we are going to learn from our guests and get valuable insight into their lives and their businesses. We'll uncover their unique offer and learn about their client acquisition strategies. How do they find clients? Which marketing tactics work best for them? What does their sales process look like? And how are they pricing their products and services? And what exactly does their customer journey look like? I hope this podcast will be a valuable resource for you to grow in knowledge and wisdom, and I hope it gives you the courage you need to persevere with your own business. As I grow and develop this podcast, things may change and evolve over time, but I want it to be first and foremost a podcast for you that will benefit you. So I encourage you to always feel free to reach out and connect, whether that is on social media, visiting our website at insidetheoffer.com and leaving a message, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast catcher of choice. However you would like, please feel free to reach out and I will be there for you. Anyways, thank you again so much for joining me, and I look forward to connecting, and I can't wait to begin this journey with you in Inside the Offer. So, a little bit about myself. For context, I am currently 31 years old. I run a full-service podcast production company. I've been married for 7 years, and I have 3 kids, ages 6, 3, and 2 months old. Actually, today, on the release of this podcast, it is January 30th, 2023, exactly 2 months since my son, John Paul, was born. I'll probably be diving deeper into my story in subsequent episodes, and you'll learn more about me throughout the various interviews. But I wanted to give you a brief overview for you to understand why I started this podcast in the first place. So I think I'll start my story at Texas State. It was 2009. I was originally a percussion performance major, but halfway through the program, I decided I did not want to be a band director or play in the symphony orchestra. And after a bit of soul searching and some help from my teachers, I made the switch to the sound recording technology program, which was an incredible program to go through. I learned everything I could about being an audio engineer and recording bands in a recording studio. And as a drummer throughout high school, I spent many hours being recorded, so it was a total mind shift to be on the other side of the glass recording musicians. I ended up graduating Texas State in 2013, and then I was an assistant engineer at Stormy Cooper Media for a little bit. And then at that point in my life, I was dating my now wife, and I was like, I need to find a full-time job so I can provide for her, because I really wanted to marry her. So I started looking around, and I landed my first full-time job at a nonprofit organization in San Diego called Catholic Answers. So I left my family and my friends in Katy, Texas, and drove across the country and found myself living in El Cajon, California, all by myself. But the whole purpose of getting the full-time job was to marry my girlfriend at the time, so I knew I wouldn't be alone for too long. So from 2014 to 2021, I would engineer 10 hours of live call-in radio a week. I would then take each radio show and turn them into podcast episodes. And during the day, I would also help record and produce ad spots for the radio show. And I helped launch a couple of podcasts as well. And during this time in San Diego, I got married. I had 2 kids. And as you know, San Diego isn't the most affordable place as a young family, especially as an audio engineer at a nonprofit. So out of necessity, I began to find ways to bring in additional income. I almost went back to my roots of being a waiter, and then I started to think of odd jobs that I could do. But the idea of leaving my family on evenings or weekends was just killing me inside. So I started to brainstorm and think outside the box. What else could I do? Then it hit me. Why don't I just do for others what I'm doing right now for my full-time job? I am doing an awful lot of audio production work. Maybe someone could pay me to help them with their audio stuff. So that's what I did. I think it was in 2018. I started NCC Audio and I was open for business. I was Mr. Audio Man himself. I would help you with anything audio related, from recording music, mixing and mastering bands, cleaning up dirty audio files, holding the boom pole on film sets, to even editing audio for podcasts. And my tagline was all things audio. And what you'll learn in future episodes, it's really hard to build and grow a business if you're in multiple industries doing multiple things. Okay, but besides that, after the very first year of doing this whole freelancing thing, I think I brought in around $3,000 extra, which at the time was amazing because I offered someone a service and they actually paid me. And I made additional $3,000 that year, which was just the beginning of this crazy journey that I'm on. Also, I did realize that even though it was cool to bring in additional income, that extra $3,000 will not bring us any closer to being able to purchase a home, let alone a home in San Diego. So I knew I had to step up my freelancing game. The major switch in mindset came when I discovered the 6-Figure Home Studio. It was a podcast about becoming a 6-figure audio engineer, and I had no idea that was even possible. And as I listened to that podcast, Brian and Chris were talking about business in a way I have never heard before. Systems and processes, handling clients, raising your rates. I've never even thought about that stuff before. And then they started to mention all of the business books they were reading. And I remember they kept referring to a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So I went on Amazon and I bought my first business book. I read the book from cover to cover, and my eyes to the business world were finally opened. After listening to the Six Figure Home Studio and reading this business book, this led me to investigate, what other podcasts are there on business, and what other business books should I buy and read? And did you know people put their entire knowledge and experience in a $20 book? The idea of learning someone else's 30 plus years of knowledge in just a couple of weeks blew my mind. And I remember thinking, why the heck have I not discovered this before? So then I finished my second year of freelancing and I brought in around $6,000. Look, I doubled my revenue, but still not enough to buy a home in Coronado or La Jolla yet. But my knowledge and desires and interests in business started to grow and grow. And then in the glorious year of 2020, after learning about the power of niching down and picking a specific industry, I remember that January, I decided to go all in on podcasting. And believe me, this was a hard decision because I did not want to give up the opportunity to record and mix and master bands because that was my identity. I was going to be a studio producer. But ultimately, this was a great decision because I could actually edit and produce podcasts at night when my family was sleeping from my office, aka the kitchen, aka the dining room and the living room. You know what I mean if you live the apartment lifestyle in San Diego. Anyways, I thought I would definitely lose money by not taking on other jobs outside of podcasting. But to my surprise, I went from $6,000 to $12,000 in revenue that year. And again, I doubled it and I was like, wow, if I went from 6 to 12, maybe I can go from 12 to 24 next year, but we'll get there. And so during this time, I was still a full-time audio engineer at Catholic Answers, but I basically gave myself a $12,000 pay raise minus expenses and taxes. Another lesson for another time. In 2021, my wife, Martha, and I decided to move back to Texas to be closer to family. Martha is a speech and language pathologist, and so she found a job at the Napa Center in Austin, which is another crazy story for another time. But this allowed us to move back to Texas. When we finally arrived in Texas, I started to look for work, and I continued my freelance NCC audio business on the side, as well as watching the kids full-time throughout the day. It was an intense year. I would take odd jobs here and there, but ultimately ended up not finding a full-time job. And I brought in around $17,000 in revenue. I didn't double my revenue, but it was still a good increase, but still not enough to provide for a family. So by the end of 2021, my spirits were down. It was a very difficult year. So I remember Martha and I sat down and mapped out our 5-year life goals. We asked ourselves, where do we want to be? What do we want our lives to look like? And a bunch of other questions. In the end, we came to the conclusion that Martha wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want to be able to provide for my family with my business. But I needed help. I could not do it alone. So, by the grace of God, a lot of crazy things started to happen. I joined a mastermind group of other podcast producers like myself, and I also started Brian Hood's coaching program. And Brian Hood was the host of the Six Figure Home Studio podcast, which I was listening to for the past 3 years. So it's coming full circle here. So in 2022, 1 year ago from this recording, I started my program with Brian. I learned a ton. I did a ton of work. I rebranded to Every Word Media, and I finally started to get a sense of pricing and understanding my worth and my value in the marketplace. So I just looked at my profit and loss statement for the year 2022 in QuickBooks, and it said my business revenue was $94,974.69. And my expenses were around $22,000, which is crazy because my expenses surpassed my business's revenue in 2021, which is crazy to me. But hey, I went from $17K to $94K in 1 year. Not bad. Now we are onto something. There is hope for the future, but I still have a long ways to go in the world of business. I have barely scratched the surface, and I can't wait to go along this journey with you. So coming back to this podcast, it's going to start off as a bi-weekly series. And as I begin to build out my systems and processes around the show, I'm hoping to make it a weekly series and hopefully even come up with 2 to 3 episodes per week. And in addition to bringing guests on the show, I will be sharing my journey along the way, sharing all of my successes and failures in hopes that you will learn from my wins and losses. I'm so excited to begin this journey with you. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And once this episode is over, you're going to go straight into my interview with Pat Flynn, and you're going to learn about how he created his very own kettlebell program and how he has built out his online business. And he's a father of 5 while doing all this, which is just very inspiring for me. And I know you're going to learn a ton from it. So let's stay connected and grow. Thank you so much, and peace out. Hey everyone, Nick Chamberlain here, and I just wanted to let you know that we are coming out with new episodes very soon. So stay tuned, and you're going to love what we have to offer inside the offer.